The stained glass windows of Willow Creek Chapel glowed with soft amber light as Madeline Harper, 27, stood in the bridal room gripping the edge of her veil. Outside, guests murmured, laughing, clinking glasses, celebrating a love story they thought was perfect. Madeline wished they were right. Her reflection stared back. Elegant dress, soft makeup, the kind of beauty magazines like to capture. But behind her eyes lived storms, secrets she refused to let poison this moment. She promised herself she would not cry, not today, not after everything she had survived growing up. Her fiancé, Ethan Cole, was beloved in town, a calm, intelligent man from a respected family. After 2 years together, they had built dreams of a quiet life, a home, maybe a dog. He protected her from her past, or so she believed. But something felt off today. A tension in his voice that morning, a hesitation in his smile, a strange warmth in his mother's goodbye hug. Madeline pushed it aside. The wedding planner knocked. "It's time." Her heart fluttered. She inhaled, held the bouquet. Just as she stepped toward the door, her maid of honor, Jenna, rushed inside, face pale. "Maddie, don't freak out, okay?" Madeline froze. "What happened?" Jenna swallowed. "Ethan, he invited someone who just arrived, someone you said you never wanted to see again." Madeline's blood ran cold. "Who?" Jenna looked away, voice trembling. "Your father." The room spun. A pressure built inside Madeline's chest, the kind she hadn't felt since she was 12, the night he disappeared and left her with wounds she carried in silence. No, he would," she whispered. But Jenna's eyes confirmed the truth. "He's sitting in the second row, front and center." Madeline felt her throat close. Pain, betrayal, and confusion slammed into her all at once. The past she had buried clawed its way out with full force. Why would Ethan do this? Why today? Why like this? Did he think she needed closure? Did he think forgiveness would magically appear because she was wearing white? Outside, the organ began playing. Guests rose. The doors opened. Madeline's breath broke with a quiet gasp. Through the open doors she saw him. The man who left her. The man who shattered her childhood. The man who didn't deserve a seat at her future. Her father. And Ethan standing there at the altar, watching her with a look she couldn't decipher. Her hands trembled. Her bouquet slipped. With a trembling whisper, she said the only words she could form. "I can't do this." Then, ignoring every pair of eyes watching her, ignoring the gasp that echoed through the chapel, Madeline turned, lifted her dress, and ran. She ran down the aisle, away from the groom, away from her father, away from everything she thought was safe. But what she didn't know was this. Ethan had a reason, a secret, one that could shatter her heart, or save her life. Make sure to like and subscribe our channel to support our journey. Madeline burst out of the chapel doors into the cold November air, the wind catching her veil and pulling it behind her like a ghost chasing her past. Gravel crunched under her heels as she stumbled across the courtyard, breath breaking in short, painful gasps. Her thoughts spun in violent circles. Why was he here? Why today? Why did Ethan let this happen? She reached the parking lot and braced herself against her car, chest heaving. The world blurred, not from tears, but from the shock slamming into her like waves on stone. In the chapel behind her, the organ music had stopped. Voices rose. Steps approached. "Maddie!" It was Ethan. Madeline squeezed her eyes shut, the sound of his voice deepening her tremble. She didn't turn. She didn't want to see his face, not until she understood the betrayal. He stopped a few feet behind her, panting, the cold air turning his breath into mist. "Please," he said softly, "just look at me." Madeline's fingers curled into her dress. "Why would you do that to me?" Her voice cracked. You knew I never wanted him near me." Ethan took a slow, careful step. "I need to explain." "No," she snapped, turning to face him finally. "You don't get to explain at my wedding. You don't get to ambush me with the one person who destroyed me." Her face flushed with anger and hurt. Ethan lifted his hands as if approaching a wild bird, afraid she would fly off again. "He came to me last night," Ethan said. Madeline's stomach twisted. "Last night, before the rehearsal dinner, before he kissed her goodnight. You didn't even tell me," she whispered. "He said he needed to see you, that he had something you needed to hear." She laughed bitterly. "I don't need anything from him." Ethan took another step. His face tightened with something Madeline couldn't read: fear, guilt, a sense of urgency. He told me something, Maddie, something about your mother. Madeline froze. Her mother, gone for years, was the softest, most painful place in her heart. She died when Madeline was 14, leaving behind memories wrapped in regret and unanswered questions. What about her? Madeline asked, voice barely a breath. Ethan hesitated. He said, she didn't die the way you think. The world tilted. Madeline's breath caught as memories flashed. Her mother's hospital room, the hushed voices, the questions nobody answered. Her father's face, pale and distant before he vanished. No, she whispered. He's lying, he's always lied. Ethan swallowed hard. He showed me something, documents, letters, medical reports. Maddie, I think there are things you were never told. Madeline's heart pounded like a drum inside her ribs. No, this couldn't be happening. Just then, a familiar voice broke the air. Madeline. She turned to see her father standing several feet away. Older, grayer, shoulders hunched as if carrying years of silence. He wasn't the giant she feared as a child. He was smaller now, almost fragile. Her instinct was to run again. Run from him, from the truth, from everything. But her legs didn't move. He lifted his hand slowly. I didn't come to ruin your day. I came because I found something I should have told you years ago. Madeline's voice trembled. You lost the right to speak to me. He nodded. I know I did, but you need to hear this, because if you don't, your life may be in danger. Ethan stepped beside Madeline protectively. What danger? Ethan demanded. Her father's eyes glistened. Your mother didn't die of natural causes. Madeline felt her breath stop. He continued, voice shaking. She was killed. Silence fell like a heavy stone. Madeline staggered back. You're lying. He shook his head. I spent years trying to prove it. And someone doesn't want the truth coming out. Someone who knows you're close to finding a piece of your mother's past. Madeline's hands went numb. What are you talking about? Ethan asked sharply. Her father looked at Madeline with a sorrow so deep it almost broke her. I stayed away to keep you safe. Madeline felt the earth tilt beneath her. Waves of fear, betrayal, and confusion crashed inside her chest. But before she could respond, before she could breathe, a black SUV rolled slowly into the parking lot. Tinted windows, engine rumbling low. Too slow, too deliberate. Madeline's father stiffened. They found us, he whispered. Ethan grabbed Madeline's hand. Suddenly, the wedding wasn't the biggest problem anymore. Her entire life was about to unravel. The black SUV rolled to a stop at the far edge of the parking lot, its engine humming low, like an animal waiting for the right moment to strike. The tinted windows reflected nothing but the gray sky. No driver, no passengers, just a silent threat. Madeline felt her pulse jump into her throat. Ethan moved instinctively in front of her, blocking her from the vehicle. Her father's shoulders tensed, his eyes locked on the SUV with a fear Madeline hadn't seen since childhood, a fear that made her skin crawl. Get inside, her father whispered urgently. Madeline didn't move. Tell me what's happening. No time, he said, voice tight. We need to leave now. Ethan shook his head. No, she's not going anywhere with you until you explain everything. The SUV's engine suddenly revved. Madeline flinched. Her father's voice was a low, strained whisper. They're watching her. They've been watching her for months. I tracked them here. When I showed Ethan the files, I knew they'd follow. Who are they? Ethan snapped. Her father looked at them with a grave expression. The same people who killed her mother. Madeline's breath caught. Ethan muttered under his breath. This is insane. But Madeline's father stepped closer, lowering his voice, each word heavy with guilt. Your mother, she was investigating something. Something involving a pharmaceutical company, illegal drug trials, missing patients. I didn't know the details until after she died. And when I found pieces of her notes, those people came after me. So I ran, to keep you safe. Madeline shook her head slowly. No, she was a nurse. She worked in a hospital. Yes, he said, and that hospital was involved. Ethan's jaw tightened. Then why show up now? Why today? Because 2 weeks ago, her father whispered, I found her final notebook. Madeline felt the world narrow. My mother kept a notebook. He nodded. And in it, she wrote one last thing before she died. His voice broke. She wrote your name. Madeline felt her knees weaken. Her father continued. I think she discovered something big, something dangerous. And I think whoever killed her realized you might be the last loose thread. The SUV suddenly pulled forward a few inches. Ethan grabbed Madeline's arm gently. We need to leave, now. But her father lifted a hand. No, not with the car. They might have tagged your license plates. They track everything. So what do we do? Madeline whispered. Her father took a long, shaky breath. We walk through the trees to the back road. I parked far away so they wouldn't see my car. We need to disappear for now. Madeline's chest tightened. My wedding, everyone inside. They won't be hurt, her father said firmly. They're here for you, not them. Madeline swallowed hard. I don't trust you. Her father nodded. You shouldn't, but right now I'm the only one who knows what they're capable of. The SUV's door clicked open. Everyone froze. A tall man with a black cap stepped out. He didn't look at them. He just lit a cigarette, leaned against the car and watched. Watching, not approaching, not moving. A warning. Ethan, Madeline whispered. I'm here, he said, sliding his hand into hers. Her father stepped closer, speaking with stern urgency. If we stay here, you'll be dead by sunset. Madeline closed her eyes for a moment. Her wedding dress brushed against the asphalt. Her bouquet lay crushed on the chapel steps. Her life, everything she planned, was slipping away like sand through her fingers. Then she opened her eyes. Okay, she whispered, I'll go. But before they could move, Ethan grabbed her arm gently. No, not without me. Madeline stared at him. Ethan, this isn't your fight. It became my fight the day I asked you to marry me. Her father frowned. This will get you killed, son. Ethan didn't blink. Then I'll die protecting her. The man by the SUV flicked his cigarette and dropped it on the ground. A subtle signal. Her father grabbed Madeline's hand. Run! And they did. Madeline lifted her dress with shaking hands as they sprinted across the lot, through the fence opening, into the cold, shadowed woods behind the chapel. Branches whipped at her dress. Mud stained the lace. Her breath tore through her chest, but she didn't stop. Leaves cracked behind them. Ethan glanced back. They're moving. Her father pushed forward, faster. Madeline's legs burned. Her lungs screamed. But the fear pushing her forward was stronger. A sharp crack echoed in the trees, a sound she had only heard in movies. A gunshot. Madeline tripped. Ethan grabbed her before she fell. That was a warning shot, her father growled. Keep moving. The forest thickened, the ground grew uneven, and Madeline's dress snagged on branches. Ethan ripped the hem open so she could run faster. We're almost to the road, her father said. Another minute. Another gunshot split the air, closer this time. Madeline stumbled, heart hammering. Ethan pulled her close. I've got you. Her father turned, panic flashing in his eyes as he saw figures moving through the trees. They're closing in, he whispered. Madeline's breath hitched. Her wedding day had turned into a nightmare, and somewhere behind them, men who killed her mother were hunting her. She wasn't just running for answers anymore. She was running for her life. Branches snapped behind them as dark figures moved through the woods, closing in with quiet, practiced steps. Not running, not shouting. Professionals. Madeline's lungs burned as she sprinted, her dress torn, her hands scratched, her breath a thin rasp in the cold air. Ethan stayed close behind her, practically shielding her with his own body, while her father led the way through the thick trees. Just a little further, her father whispered. The road is right ahead. Madeline's heart thudded painfully. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. Wedding dresses weren't meant for running. Wedding days weren't meant for hiding. And fathers who abandoned their children weren't supposed to suddenly become the only thing standing between them and death. But here she was. A soft whistle cut through the trees. Her father froze, down. He grabbed both of them and pulled them behind a fallen log just as a bullet cut through the air, splintering bark inches above their heads. Madeline's body trembled violently. They're tracking us, Ethan murmured. How many are there? Her father peeked over the log. 3, maybe 4. Why are they after Madeline? Ethan demanded softly. Her father's jaw tightened. They think she knows something her mother discovered. Madeline forced herself to breathe. I don't know anything. You don't, he whispered. But your mother left something behind, something with your name. Madeline felt a chill deeper than the wind. You said she wrote my name in her notebook. Her father nodded, eyes dark with guilt. What does that mean? She whispered. He whispered back. It means she didn't just leave you memories. She left you evidence. Madeline swallowed hard. Of what? Her father took a deep breath. Of a clinical trial she never should have reported on. One that killed people. One that a corporation covered up. She found patient files, internal memos, bloodwork inconsistencies. She put it all in her notebook. And they killed her for it? Ethan asked. Her father nodded once. And they'll come for anyone who has that notebook. Madeline blinked rapidly, panic swelling. But I don't have it. Her father looked straight at her. You do, you just don't know where. Madeline's breath left her chest. What are you talking about? Before she died, her father whispered, his voice cracking. Your mother hid the notebook somewhere only you could find it. Madeline shook her head. I've never seen anything. That's why she hid clues, he said. In your childhood things, your drawings, your music box, letters she wrote for your birthdays, clues only you would understand. Madeline's entire world blurred. Why didn't you tell me this before? She rasped. His voice broke. Because I was afraid they'd kill you. I couldn't protect you. I thought disappearing would. Ethan clenched his jaw. Then why return now? Her father closed his eyes. Because they found me. And if they killed me without telling you the truth, the notebook would die with me. And they'd come for you next. Madeline felt sick. Another bullet slammed into the log. Bark exploded against her cheek. They're getting closer, Ethan whispered. Her father scanned the forest. We move on my word. When I say run, you run straight toward the ditch behind the road. Madeline shook uncontrollably. I can't run anymore. Ethan took her face gently in his hands. Yes, you can. I'm with you. I'm not letting you die today. Madeline's eyes filled, but she nodded. Her father spotted an opening between the trees. Ready now. They sprang up and sprinted again. Madeline stumbled through thorns and roots, Ethan pulling her forward. Her father stayed behind for a moment, covering them, throwing a rock to mislead the men. They burst through a line of thick brush and came out onto a steep slope leading down to the service road. There, Ethan pointed. We're close. Madeline slid down the dirt, her dress ripping again. She hit the ground hard, rolling, leaves tangling in her hair. Ethan caught up, helping her stand. Then her father emerged from the trees. But not alone. A man in black crashed behind him, tackling him to the ground. No, Madeline screamed. Her father struggled, elbowing the attacker, rolling in the dirt. But the man was trained, fast, brutal, efficient. Ethan stepped forward to help, but Madeline grabbed his arm desperately. No, he'll kill you. Her father shouted, Run, Gio. Another man appeared behind the first. Ethan swallowed hard. They're multiplying. Her father yelled again, voice fractured with urgency. Run, Madeline. They only want you. Madeline's chest split with pain. She couldn't leave him. Not again. Not like she did as a child. But Ethan tightened his grip around her hand. If we stay, we all die. Madeline's heart shattered. Her father looked up at her one last time, eyes full of the love he never got to show. Find the notebook, he rasped. Find the truth, and don't let my mistakes kill you too. Then the second man lunged at him. Madeline screamed, and Ethan pulled her, forcing her down the road. As they ran, Madeline looked back and saw her father being dragged into the trees, fighting, kicking, refusing to give up. But she knew he might not survive. Ethan pulled her into the shadows of the roadside trees, breath ragged. Madeline collapsed to her knees, sobbing. My father, Ethan, they're going to kill him. Ethan knelt beside her, gripping her arms firmly. Then we're going to get him back, but first, he looked into her eyes, steady and determined. We need to find that notebook. Madeline wiped her tears with shaking hands. For the first time in her life, her past wasn't the only danger. Her future was too. Like and subscribe for more stories like that. Madeline and Ethan crouched in the shadows beneath the trees lining the narrow service road. The cold air felt sharp, almost metallic, as if the world around them had shifted into a harsher reality. Madeline's breath stuttered as she stared back toward the forest, where her father was dragged moments ago. Her wedding dress, once pure and elegant, was torn, dirty, and soaked with fear. She hugged her arms around herself. He saved us, she whispered, and I still don't even understand why. Ethan kept a steady hand on her back. We'll go after him, but we need to know what we're dealing with first. Madeline nodded faintly, though her mind swirled with panic. They'll kill him, she murmured. He came back after all those years just to die for me. Ethan turned her to face him. He didn't come back to die. He came back so you wouldn't. Madeline closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. I don't know where to go. I don't know what they want. I don't know anything about some notebook. But Ethan looked at her differently, like he knew exactly where they needed to begin. You told me once, he said softly, that your mother saved everything you ever gave her. Letters, drawings, stories, boxes of them. Madeline nodded slowly. And you told me, Ethan continued, that she always hid surprises in your stuff. Notes under the lining of your backpacks. Messages in your storybooks. Madeline froze, a memory surfacing. Her mother's soft laugh. Her warm hands braiding her hair. Her whispering, I hide things for you because one day you'll need them. Madeline's heart thudded. I haven't opened any of my childhood boxes in years, she said. They're all in my old room at the house. Ethan nodded. Then that's where we start. Madeline's breath caught. Ethan, that house is in my father's name. What if they've been watching it all this time? Ethan exhaled slowly. Then we don't go through the front door. She looked at him shaken. What if we don't find anything? He squeezed her hand. Madeline, your mom didn't write your name in her notebook for nothing. Madeline's eyes dropped to the torn fabric of her dress. But why me? Why not leave it with someone safe? Why hide something like that in children's things? Ethan looked at her with quiet certainty. Because she trusted you more than anyone. Madeline swallowed, the weight of her mother's love and fear suddenly pressing against her chest. A cold breeze rustled the trees above them. Ethan looked around tense. We can't stay here. They'll comb the woods. Madeline nodded, wiping her tears. There's a trail, she whispered. Behind the service road. It leads to the old water plant. Nobody goes there anymore. Good, Ethan said, helping her stand. We'll use that path to cut around town, then head to your house from the back trails. Madeline took a shaky breath, but before they could move, Ethan grabbed her wrist gently. Maddie, I need to tell you something. Madeline blinked. What? He hesitated, eyes heavy. Last night when your father came to see me, he didn't just show me documents. Madeline stiffened. What else did he show you? Ethan looked away for a moment, struggling. He showed me a picture, Ethan said softly, of your mother taken 2 days before she died. Madeline's breath hitched. Ethan continued. She wasn't in a hospital, she wasn't even sick. She looked terrified, like she knew something awful was coming. Madeline felt her knees weaken. No, my mom was in the hospital. I visited her. Ethan shook his head. I think the hospital part was staged. Your father believes she was forced into isolation so they could silence her. Madeline's world spun. Her childhood memories felt suddenly distorted, edited, rewritten. My father told me she died peacefully, Madeline whispered, voice breaking. He said that because he thought you'd be safer believing it. Madeline covered her face with her hands. Her wedding, her father reappearing, gunshots. Her mother's death suddenly turned into a murder. Nothing in her life felt real anymore. Ethan placed his hand on hers, voice firm. The truth is in that notebook, and they're terrified of you finding it. Madeline shut her eyes, remembering her old bedroom, the lavender walls, the small wooden desk, the bookshelf her mother built by hand, her childhood music box with the tiny ballerina spinning inside. Her music box, a sudden wave of memory surged. Her mother handing it to her on her 10th birthday. Her mother whispering, "Open this only when you have questions I'm not here to answer." Madeline gasped. "I know where she hid it," she whispered. Ethan leaned closer. "Where?" Madeline looked at him with wide, trembling eyes. "My music box, inside the base, under the velvet lining. I never opened it because she told me not to." Ethan's face lit with urgency. "Then that's our first target." Madeline nodded, fear and determination mixing in her chest. But then, Ethan's expression shifted. He stood, looking down the road. Madeline followed his gaze. A second black SUV appeared in the distance. Turning onto the service road slowly, silently, searching. "They're sweeping the area," Ethan whispered. "We need to move now." Madeline stood, clutching his shirt with trembling hands. "Ethan, what if we find the notebook? What if everything they said is true?" Ethan took her face in his hands. "Then your mother didn't die for nothing, and neither will your father." Madeline swallowed, breath shaking. She grabbed Ethan's hand tighter. "Let's go." Together, they slipped into the woods, running deeper into the uncertainty ahead, toward a childhood bedroom, holding the truth Madeline never asked for, and a music box waiting to betray every memory she thought she understood. By the time Madeline and Ethan reached the edge of her childhood neighborhood, dusk had settled like a heavy blanket. The sky burned orange, fading into bruised shades of purple. Streetlights flickered on one by one, humming softly in the quiet suburban air. Madeline's wedding dress dragged behind her through dead leaves and gravel, torn and streaked with dirt. She felt like a ghost haunting her own life. Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "You sure you want to do this now?" he asked. Madeline nodded, though fear prickled through her stomach. If they're watching the house, they might already know we escaped. Ethan scanned the street. It's too quiet. No cars, no movement, no lights on in the windows. Madeline's old house stood at the end of the cul-de-sac, dark against the fading sky. The white paint was peeling. The porch railing was broken. A house frozen in time. Nothing had changed since the day her father walked out. Madeline stared at it, her chest tightening. "I haven't been here in 9 years," she whispered. Ethan looked at the house with a soldier's caution. "We go through the back, quickly." They moved silently along the tree line, avoiding the open street. When they reached the back fence, Madeline hesitated. "I used to climb this as a kid," she murmured. Ethan lifted her with careful strength, guiding her over. She dropped quietly into the backyard, landing on soft grass that felt colder than she remembered. Ethan hopped over behind her. Madeline's breath hitched. "It smells the same," she said. That old, dusty scent of neglect, mixed with faint lavender from her mother's forgotten garden. Ethan stepped beside her, lead the way. Madeline walked toward the back door, each step heavier than the last. She turned the handle. It clicked open. Ethan stiffened. "It's unlocked." "It's been unlocked for years," Madeline whispered. "Nobody ever came back." They slipped inside. The kitchen greeted them with stale air. Cabinets half open. A fridge humming weakly. Old magnets still clinging to the door, school pictures, drawings from her childhood, untouched. Madeline reached out, touching the corner of a faded crayon doodle. "My mom loved this kitchen," she whispered. "She used to dance here at night." Ethan watched her gently, but stayed alert. They moved through the house step by step. The hallway, the living room, the stairs that always creaked on the third step. Halfway up, Ethan gripped her hand. "Maddie, stop." She froze. Ethan leaned close to her ear. "There's a draft. Something's open upstairs." Madeline's heart hammered. "Are they here?" Ethan tightened his jaw. "Stay behind me." He climbed first, silent but tense, checking each corner. When he reached the top, he signaled her to follow. The upstairs hallway was dim. A cold breeze seeped from somewhere ahead. Madeline saw it, her bedroom door slightly open. Her breath caught. "Ethan, I didn't leave that open." Ethan whispered, "Stay back." But Madeline couldn't. She stepped beside him, pushing the door gently. The room looked exactly how she left it. Lavender walls, white dresser, bookshelf, bed covered in an old quilt her mother made. Except the window was open, curtains fluttering softly, and her desk drawer, her childhood drawer, was halfway pulled out. Someone had been searching. Madeline felt all the air leave her lungs. "Ethan, someone already looked for it." Ethan scanned the room. Not thoroughly. Whoever was here was in a rush, or they thought you took it long ago. He knelt beside the desk, inspecting the drawer without touching it. No fingerprints, they wore gloves. Madeline stepped deeper into the room, her eyes landing on the small wooden object sitting on the dresser. Her music box, the ballerina still frozen mid-spin, dust settling on its shoulders. Madeline's breath trembled. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind. "Open this when you have questions. I'm not here to answer." Ethan approached her quietly. "Are you ready?" Madeline nodded, though her fingers shook violently. She lifted the music box. Her hands remembered its weight, the way the metal key felt, the soft melody it once played every night. She placed it on the desk, took a deep breath, and lifted the lid. The ballerina twirled slowly, a haunting lullaby filling the room. The sound felt haunted now, sad, fragile, like her mother's last whisper. Madeline reached into the box. Her fingers traced velvet lining. She felt the edge of the false bottom she always suspected, but never questioned. Ethan leaned close, careful. Madeline hooked her nail under the lining and lifted. A small folded envelope lay beneath, yellowed with age, her mother's handwriting on the front. "For Maddie, when the world becomes confusing." Madeline's eyes flooded. Ethan touched her back lightly. "Open it." Madeline unfolded it with trembling hands. Inside was a map, not a real map but a child's map, drawn in colored pencil, simple lines, little symbols. A star, a heart, a tree, a hidden X. Madeline whispered, "I drew this when I was 8, it's the backyard." Ethan studied it closely. "Look at the X." Madeline's breath caught. The X marked one place, the old oak tree behind the house. She stared at Ethan, voice breaking. "I buried a time capsule there, with my mom." Ethan's eyes widened. She must have put something inside it. Madeline clutched the map, the notebook. Before Ethan could respond, the silence shattered. The floorboard at the end of the hallway creaked. Madeline froze. Ethan whipped around, whispering sharply, "Someone in the house." A shadow moved past the hallway wall. A slow, deliberate step. Madeline gasped. Ethan grabbed her hand. "Out the window," he whispered. "Now." Another step creaked closer. Then a voice, low, calm, chilling, floated down the hall. "Madeline Harper." Madeline covered her mouth. "They found us," Ethan whispered. They climbed out the window into the cold night, as footsteps rushed toward the room. And behind them, inside the house they once called home, the voice echoed again. "You can't run from the truth, or from us." Madeline landed hard on the grass, clutching the map as tears burned her eyes. But she didn't break. Not yet. Not until she reached the oak tree. Not until she found her mother's notebook. Madeline hit the ground first, rolling onto the wet grass behind the house. Ethan landed a second later, grabbing her arm and pulling her into the shadows cast by the overgrown hedges. Inside the house, the footsteps quickened, moving toward the open window they had just escaped through. Madeline swallowed hard. "They're right behind us." Ethan pressed a finger to his lips and pointed toward the backyard. The old oak tree stood tall at the back edge of the fence, its branches twisting toward the sky like skeletal arms, exactly where Madeline and her mother once placed their time capsule. It felt like a lifetime ago. Ethan whispered, "We get the capsule, then we get out." Madeline gripped the hand-drawn map tightly. "If she really hid the notebook in there, this could save us." Ethan nodded. "And your father." Her eyes filled, but she pushed the emotion down. A soft thud echoed from the upstairs window, the sound of someone landing inside her room. "They're climbing out," Ethan murmured. Madeline didn't wait. She ran. The grass was slippery beneath her torn dress, but she sprinted across the yard, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. Ethan ran beside her, eyes always searching, scanning the shadows, anticipating danger. They reached the oak tree. Madeline dropped to her knees, hands trembling as she brushed away leaves and debris from the roots. The memories rushed in hard and fast, her mother laughing as they buried the small metal tin, her small hands scooping dirt, her mother saying, "One day, Maddie, this will be your treasure." Madeline bit her lip. "Please," she whispered, "please let it be here." Ethan knelt next to her. "Tell me where." Madeline unfolded the map again, pointing to a small star drawn near the bottom corner. "Here," she said, voice shaky. "It should be right under the thick root." Ethan nodded and began digging with his hands, pulling away wet soil. Madeline dug beside him, her fingers burning from cold and fear. Dirt packed beneath her nails, dress ruined. None of it mattered. Behind them, the sound of footsteps echoed from the side yard. "They're coming around the house," Ethan warned. "Hurry." Madeline's breath hitched. "No, no, no, please." Her fingers hit something hard. "Metal." "I found it," she gasped. She pulled, and a small rusted tin box emerged from the ground, dirt clinging to the edges. Ethan's eyes widened. "Open it." Madeline brushed away mud and lifted the lid. Inside were tiny objects from her childhood, small jewelry, a toy ring, a folded photo, a dried flower. And underneath it all, a second envelope, larger, thicker, water-stained but intact. Madeline's blood chilled. Her mother's handwriting was unmistakable. "For Maddie, the truth." Madeline covered her mouth, tears spilling over. Ethan whispered, "This is it." But before she could open it, a beam of light swept across the yard. "We've got movement," a voice shouted. Flashlights, more than one. Madeline's heart slammed against her ribs. Ethan grabbed her wrist. "Run." Madeline clutched the envelope tightly and sprinted with him toward the fence. Branches snapped. Voices closed in. "She's there by the tree. Don't lose her." A shot rang out, whizzing past Madeline's ear, cracking into the oak trunk. Madeline shrieked, stumbling. Ethan caught her and pushed her forward. "Go, don't look back." She didn't. They reached the fence. Ethan helped her climb, boosting her up. Her hands slipped, dress snagging on a nail, ripping further, but she pulled herself over with trembling strength. Ethan vaulted after her, but another shot fired. He dropped down beside her, breath sharp. "Keep moving." They rushed into the shadows of the adjacent property, climbing through bushes, weaving between trees. But the men were fast. Their flashlights danced across neighboring yards, sweeping closer. Madeline and Ethan crouched behind a shed, both panting, mud smeared on their clothes. Madeline whispered, "Ethan, they saw me. They won't stop." Ethan touched her cheek, firm and steady. "Then we stay ahead of them." She clutched the envelope against her chest. "What if this isn't the notebook? What if it's nothing?" Ethan shook his head. "Your mom wouldn't risk everything for nothing." Madeline stared at the envelope. Her mother's last truth. Her father's reason for running. The reason men were willing to kill her. Her hand shook as she slowly peeled back the flap. Inside, a smaller notebook, worn, water-stained, edges frayed. But the handwriting inside was clear. Madeline flipped to the first page. Her mother had written one sentence. "If you are reading this, it means they finally found you." Madeline's breath caught. Another flashlight beam swept across the yard. Ethan tugged her arm. "We need to go now." Madeline shoved the notebook into her dress, securing it against her chest. "Where?" she whispered. Ethan looked toward the dark woods behind the neighborhood. "We disappear into the forest, this time for real." Madeline nodded, breath trembling. But before they moved, a deep voice echoed from the yard behind them. Calm, patient, certain. "You can't run forever, Madeline." Madeline froze. Footsteps approached slowly, deliberately. "And we will kill anyone who gets in our way." Ethan whispered in her ear. "Then we don't give them the chance." He grabbed her hand, and together they ran into the darkness, the notebook pressing against her heart, the truth unfolding inside her mind, and the danger closing in from all sides. Madeline didn't know what her mother had uncovered, but she knew this. She wasn't ready for the truth, and the truth wasn't done with her. The rain hammered against the giant windows of the Montgomery estate as if the sky itself knew a secret was about to break. Guests whispered in corners, makeup smeared, tuxedos wet from the chaos outside. The wedding had collapsed into a spectacle, half heartbreak, half scandal, and in the center of it all stood Alina, her gown torn at the hem, her breaths unsteady, her eyes refusing to blink because if she did, the tears would win. Across the hall, other eyes watched her, some with pity, some with judgment, some with hunger for drama. But the one pair Alina kept searching for wasn't there. Connor, he had disappeared, vanished after the outburst, after Jacob's arrival, after the truth grabbed the ceremony by the throat and refused to let go. "Where is he?" Alina whispered to herself as she walked past the champagne table, ignoring the glasses toppled over like fallen soldiers. Why did he run? Because deep down she feared the answer. Connor wasn't running from Jacob. He was running from her. Her phone vibrated sharply in her trembling hand. A message from Connor. "Meet me at the East Greenhouse. Now." Her throat tightened. The greenhouse, the place he once said he'd take her if he ever had to tell her something he couldn't say in front of a crowd. A safe space. A truth space. She picked up her dress and hurried toward the garden path. Rain drenched her instantly, plastering her hair to her cheeks. Every step felt heavier, like the earth itself tried pulling her back. But she pushed through, because love, even broken, pulls harder than fear. The greenhouse glowed faintly from within, warm light, golden, soft. She stopped at the door, breath shaky, hand hovering over the handle. "Connor," she called softly. Inside, she saw him standing with his back to her, shoulders slumped, his usually pristine suit now soaked and wrinkled. Next to him on the table lay a folder, a thick one, a terrifying one. "Connor, talk to me," she said, stepping inside. He didn't turn. "Alina," he said quietly, "you weren't supposed to find out like this." Her heart stuttered. "Find out what?" He finally turned around, eyes red, pain carved into every line of his face. "That Jacob didn't ruin our wedding," he said, voice breaking. "I did." She froze, words twisted in her chest. "What do you mean?" He picked up the folder and handed it to her, hands shaking. "I invited him." The world stopped. The rain outside fell silent. The greenhouse lights flickered. "You what?" Alina whispered, voice barely alive. "I brought your father to the wedding," Connor confessed, chest rising and falling with panic. "Because I thought it would heal something in you. Because I thought I was doing the right thing. Because I thought love meant fixing what's broken. Her vision blurred instantly. He invited the one man she had spent half her life grieving, hating, missing, resenting. Her estranged father, her deepest wound, her private nightmare. And Connor had dragged him into the one moment she needed to feel safe. Why, she asked, stepping back. Why would you do something so cruel? I wasn't trying to hurt you, he said desperately. I swear. He reached out to me months ago. He said he wanted to give you something, some truth, something you deserve to know. I thought giving you closure would help you start our marriage without scars. And you decided that for me, she said, voice breaking. You thought you could rewrite my pain behind my back. He covered his face with both hands. Elena, please, I did it out of love. Love without consent isn't love, she whispered. He dropped his hands. Elena, the thing he came to tell you, it's not small. It's big, bigger than both of us. And I thought you needed to hear it. What truth? She asked. Connor swallowed hard. That night he left, Connor said slowly. He didn't abandon you. Her breath stopped. Her knees nearly buckled. What are you talking about? He walked out and never came back. Connor shook his head. That's not what happened, he said, voice trembling. She stared at him, waiting, terrified. Finally he spoke. Elena, your father didn't leave you. A pause, a breath, a truth so heavy it shook the air. He was forced out. The room tilted. Elena felt her pulse in her ears. By who? She asked, voice barely a whisper. Connor's jaw tightened, and the next words shattered everything she thought she knew. By your mother. Elena felt a cold wave rush through her, as if someone had opened the door to a past she never meant to revisit. The greenhouse, moments ago warm and glowing, felt suddenly suffocating. My mother, she whispered, staring at Connor as if the word itself might burn her tongue. Connor nodded slowly, eyes filled with guilt, fear, and something deeper, regret for a secret he had no right to touch. Elena, I didn't want you to find out like this, he said softly, but Jacob came to tell you the truth, the whole truth. Her breath trembled. Then tell me everything. Connor picked up the folder again, laying it gently on the table between them. He opened it, revealing documents, letters, and photographs. Old ones, torn edges, some with dark stains of time, government stamps, custody records, police reports. Things Elena had never seen, things she had been never allowed to see. Your father didn't walk away, Connor began. He was removed from your life, forcefully. Elena's knees weakened. She gripped the table. Removed by who? Why, my mother always told me. He lifted a hand gently, stopping her. That he abandoned you, Connor said. I know. She told you he chose another family, that he didn't fight for you, that he never cared. Elena felt tears sliding down her cheeks. Not the soft ones, these burned. But she lied, Connor continued. And she lied because she was trying to protect you. At least that's what she believed. Elena's chest caved. Protect me from what? Connor hesitated. From who? He stepped closer, speaking quietly. Your father was being threatened. He was in trouble with a man, someone dangerous, someone who started targeting anyone close to him. Your mother saw it happen. And one night, things escalated. That's when she forced him to leave you for your safety. Elena's breath caught painfully. No, that can't be. Why didn't she tell me? Why did she make me hate him? She thought a clean break would hurt less than the truth, Connor said. She thought if you grew up believing he chose to leave, you wouldn't live your whole life looking over your shoulder. But I did, Elena whispered. I spent years wondering why I wasn't enough. Her voice cracked. Why he never loved me. Connor's voice grew heavy. He did, Elena. He loved you more than anything. And he stayed away because every time he tried to come back, someone threatened you. The greenhouse lights flickered again. The wind outside howled as if echoing her pain. And the man who forced him out, Elena asked, who was he? Connor swallowed hard. That's the part Jacob wanted to tell you himself, he said. Because that man isn't gone. Not yet. Elena's heartbeat echoed in her ears. Danger, once a distant ghost, now felt like a shadow standing behind her. She looked at the photos again. At the signatures, at the bruises on her father's face in one of them, at the police stamp marking the case closed, at the resignation letter from her father's job written the same night he disappeared. Everything she knew was shifting under her feet. I don't know if I can believe this, she said, stepping back. My mother may have lied, but my father still never came back. He never tried to find me. He did, Connor whispered. He came to your high school graduation. He stood in the back. I saw the pictures in his phone. Alina gasped. He visited your college campus twice. He sent you letters your mother hid. He tried, Alina. God, he tried. She covered her mouth, sobbing silently. Connor stepped closer, hesitating, then gently placed his hands on her arms. I know you're hurting, he said. I know you feel betrayed by him, by her, by me, but you need to hear this before you decide what happens next. She lifted her teary eyes to him. Your father didn't come today to ruin your wedding, Connor said quietly. He came today because the man who hurt him, who forced him out, a pause, a breath, a truth that shattered everything, is coming after you now. The greenhouse fell silent. The danger was no longer past. It was present and walking straight toward her. The storm outside had finally softened, but inside the greenhouse, the real storm was just beginning. Alina stood frozen, her breath shallow, her pulse loud enough to fill the space. The man who forced my father out, she whispered. He's coming for me. Connor nodded slowly, expression tight, voice low and steady, the calm before a violent truth. Yes, Jacob said. The threat started again. That's why he came today, not to break the wedding but to warn you. Alina felt the floor tilt beneath her. She clutched the edge of the table to stay upright. Why now, she asked, after all these years? Connor exhaled. Because he found something that ties back to your family, something he thinks you have. Alina's eyes widened. I don't have anything. That's the problem, Connor replied. He thinks you do. A sharp sound echoed through the greenhouse, heavy footsteps on wet soil. Alina's heart stopped. Someone was approaching. Connor's entire posture shifted, protective, alert, ready. He stepped in front of her, blocking her from the entrance. Alina, he said quickly, voice firm but tender. Whatever happens, stay behind me. She shook her head, panic rising. Connor. No, he said sharply. I almost lost you today because of my mistake. I won't let anything else touch you. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Then the greenhouse door creaked open. Rainlight spilled in, and there he stood. Jacob, soaking wet, shirt torn, eyes wild but burning with a desperate urgency. Both of you listen to me, he said, breathless. He's here on the property. Alina's stomach twisted. Who? She asked, voice trembling. Jacob stepped inside, locking the door behind him. His name is Adrian Hale, Jacob said. A man I once trusted, a man who destroyed everything. Connor stiffened. I know that name. Alina looked between them. Who is he? Jacob looked directly into her eyes, and the truth hit harder than any storm. He's your godfather, Alina, and he believes your father kept something from him, something valuable enough to hunt for 20 years. Alina stumbled back. Why would he think I have it? Jacob swallowed, devastated. Because before I left, I hid a key to a deposit box, and the only person I trusted to protect it was you. But I've never seen a key, Alina cried. Never. Jacob nodded. I know. That's why Adrian thinks your mother has it, and if he can't find her, he'll come for you. Connor clenched his jaw. Where is your mother now? Before Jacob could answer, a loud crash came from outside. Glass rattled. Lights flickered. All three turned toward the sound. He's inside the grounds, Jacob whispered. Connor immediately grabbed Alina's hand. We're leaving now. But as they rushed toward the back exit, a voice echoed through the greenhouse. Deep, calm, cold enough to freeze bone. Going somewhere, Alina. Alina's blood ran cold. A tall man stood at the far end of the greenhouse, silhouetted against the lightning, coat dripping, eyes sharp and soulless. Adrian Hale. Jacob stepped forward. Leave her alone, Adrian. Adrian smirked. You kept something from me, Jacob, and now I will take what is owed. He reached inside his coat. Connor moved instantly, pushing Alina behind the table. Run, he shouted. But Alina didn't move. She couldn't leave Connor. She couldn't leave her father. She couldn't let the story end in fear. She grabbed a metal pole that had fallen from the greenhouse frame. Heart pounding, hands shaking, but brave, braver than she'd ever been allowed to be. Adrian moved toward Connor. Jacob lunged at Adrian. Connor tried to shield Alina. Everything became noise. Rain, shouts, glass breaking, heavy footsteps slamming across the floor. But it was Alina. Quiet grieving, wounded Alina. who made the move no one expected. She swung. The metal pole slammed into Adrian's arm, sending whatever weapon he held skidding across the floor. Adrian roared. Connor and Jacob tackled him together, years of anger, guilt, and fear in every strike. The fight was brutal, short, and ended with Adrian pinned to the ground, breathing heavy, defeated. Sirens echoed outside moments later, security and police rushing toward the greenhouse. Connor turned to Alina, chest heaving. "You okay?" Alina nodded, tears streaming. "I'm okay because you're here." Jacob stepped forward, bruised but alive. "I'm sorry," he said, voice breaking, "for everything, for the years lost, for the lies you lived through, for the danger I brought today." Alina looked at him through trembling tears. "I want the truth now," she whispered. "All of it. No more secrets, no more protection through pain." Jacob nodded. "You'll have it, every word." Connor gently touched Alina's cheek. "And after everything, if you still want me, I'll spend the rest of my life earning your trust back." Alina held his hand. "I don't want you to earn it," she whispered. "I want you to share it with me, honestly." Outside, the storm began to clear. Inside, the three of them, broken, wounded, but finally together, stood in the ruins of what was supposed to be a perfect wedding. But maybe perfection was never the plan. Maybe truth was. Maybe healing was. Maybe this was the beginning of something stronger than lies, fear, or secrets. A new family, rebuilt from the ashes of an almost broken union. Alina looked at the torn veil on the ground, then at Connor. "Let's try again," she said softly. "But this time, no secrets." Connor pulled her into his arms. "I promise." And somewhere behind them, Jacob wiped a tear, one he'd been waiting 20 years to release. Like and subscribe the end.